The 12 guests of Christmas continue here on Popcorn Palace, and I'm so excited to introduce our next guest, Royal Daily Tea. Oh, this is about to get hot in here. Welcome to Popcorn Palace, where the tea's always hot and the gossip is great, and I'm so excited. So we're gonna get some great stuff here from Michelle from Royal Daily Tea. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Andy. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, I love you coming here. Sue introduced us. I was not as familiar, but as we were talking, you told me about this story. A lot of our viewers may know, some may not, but I thought this would be a really interesting story to share for those who don't know Michelle's story here. You went super viral on TikTok, commenting on Harry and Meghan, and it's from what you told me, you then met the Sugars, who promptly terrorized you on TikTok. And I want to talk about this. So explain. So you had this TikTok here where you were...
This is why Harry and Meghan left the royal family, part 3. So when Meghan and Harry, got married...
It's a long video. I'm not going to play it. Oh, no, it's not. It's
Oprah
it's quick.
And the Clooneys at their wedding. None of these people knew who Meghan Markle was before she got with Prince Harry. She was Rachel from Suits. She was a D-list actress. She didn't have the money and the worldwide fame.
Facts.
But when she married to the royal family, she became this huge international overnight superstar. So when she married into the royal family, she really thought she was going to be the next Princess Diana. But when she found out that her husband's 6th in line and she's always going to be behind Kate and Camilla and the Queen, and has to follow royal protocols, all of a sudden, she's not a happy camper. She doesn't like to be number 2 or 3. This is why Harry
100% factual, nothing off base here in my opinion. But here we go. You have no idea what you're talking about. A lot of people like it. You are full of venom, snake. Why does everyone hate on this woman? They really know nothing. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. But yeah, it's amazing. So you got to taste the Sugars, which are, I guess, more prevalent on TikTok, it seems. Younger, dumber audience. No offense to not all the younger viewers are dumb, but I noticed that on TikTok, there's a lot of just ignorant people who haven't done as much research because it's all very quick stuff. But what was it like when this suddenly happened? You're seeing millions of views come in this TikTok, but then the hate's coming in as well. What happened?
Well, if you look at the date, it was on 4/3/2021. So I was one of the first people to kind of come out. We're talking a long time ago. So let me just tell you a little bit of backstory. I grew up a huge royal Princess Diana fan. I actually am old enough, Andy, that I watched her wedding on TV as a little girl. And when I saw her come out of the carriage and the Spencer tiara, it was like Cinderella come to life. I was obsessed. Every tabloid that you saw in the supermarket, my mom had to buy for me. I was a Diana girl. And when she died, I was devastated. And I grew up watching Harry and William, loved them. So when he got engaged to Meghan, we were all very excited about it. Everything was wonderful and great. Now, during this time, Andy, I was not a very good influencer. As you can see, my wonderful camera work with me literally holding my cell phone to my computer and moving around as I'm filming. Clearly, I'm not an expert at this point.
It worked pretty well, though, I'll say. Yeah, it did. Good job.
It did. And this is back in the day, Andy, when you can only do the 60-second. So I had part 1, part 2, part 3. It was literally part 28. And people were like, I want more, right? So what happened was at that time, my most viral video was a Panera video where I was saying Panera bread's so expensive, Andy. It had 15,000 views. And I was like, it is
expensive. You're told for a sandwich? Come on. And soup that you keep out all day? I agree with you.
$20. So it was right after the freeze in Texas in February when we had those stores. We lost power. I went to Panera Bread. I got a sandwich. It was really expensive. So I made a TikTok and it went to 15,000 views, Andy. And I'm like, oh my God, I've made it. I have 15,000 views. And then I watched the Oprah Winfrey interview with Harry and Meghan. And I was like shocked because at that time, Andy, you have to understand, it was not heard of for a member of the royal family to go on TV and speak horribly about a family and accuse them of racism. I was like, are you kidding me? So I just went on TikTok and made a couple of little TikToks and I had like maybe 500 followers. I woke up to 35,000 followers the next day.
It's nuts. 3.4 million views on this one. Yeah, it was nuts. So overnight this happens.
Yeah. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I didn't know what to do. So at that point, Andy, I had to turn my comments off because the hate and the vitriol that I got was, I didn't know what I was doing. I barely knew how to do a TikTok. And but a lot of people were also beginning to agree with me because people at that time didn't really know. We're talking 2021.
Right.
This is
That,
barely a
that
year.
was earlier than most people. Exactly. Yeah.
It's really early. I jumped on it right after the interview, and that was actually the third part. So I had already done a couple before then that were 500,000, a million. I was getting astronomical views, and I didn't know how to handle it. I had to change my name. I had my personal name on there. Like overnight, I became a royal commentator.
So you realize I'm onto something here. People are clearly, while there's hate, you didn't let that stop you. Good for you, by the way. And you realize that I'm gonna start doing this and educate the people that are actually noticing, because I imagine there were people in there that were supporting you.
Correct. There was a lot of, it was very split. A lot of people were like shocked, but the minute you bring in the R word, it's like that's all people need to hear. They don't want facts. They just blindly follow people. And I understand that to a certain degree. But with Meghan and Harry, it was so shocking at the time. So shocking. A member of the royal family say those things. My mouth was on the floor. And so I started, doing TikToks and saying, hey, I've been a royal fan for 25 years. Let me tell you some stuff. And people were like, oh, you mean that's not true? Oh, there's a law that the great grandchild of the sovereign can't be born a prince or princess. I'm like, yeah, did you not know that? So I didn't
Of course not. No one did the homework, including Oprah, which is the most annoying, right?
Right. It was actually kind of shocking that Oprah sat there and didn't do any research. It's like Google's free. I mean, I'm a TikToker and I could sit there and I did a 28-part, on TikTok dispelling her Oprah and, Oprah interview. And people were just eating it up like crazy. I couldn't make them fast enough. And I guess that's just how the royal daily tea was born. So one day it was 15,000 on Panera Bread. The next day it was 3.5 million on a Harry and Meghan video.
The Meghan Markle effect. It goes both ways. Exactly. Back then. Well, that's amazing. So now you've grown. You now have a YouTube channel, almost 30,000 subscribers. Congrats. You've been doing great over there, as I've been learning recently. And I'm excited for you. So you are now you cover the crown. You've done all this. As you've now, with all this experience and history, like, what is your opinion these days of the Sussex Squad and what they've been doing as of late?
Well, it's funny because I feel like the Sussex Squad is kind of hot and cold. I don't think they're as strong as they used to be, but of course, there's still going to be those crazy Harry and Meghan stans. And I try not to get too much into the negativity, into the mud. Do you know what I mean? Because some of the things on Twitter that I see are hilarious. Like they call her Princess Meghan. They think Harry's going to be on the throne. But the hate that they throw toward the children, toward the Welleses, and, just the accusations of racism, it's really sad. I think it's sad that Harry and Meghan have not come out and separated themselves and clarified their accusations 2.5 years later. And
especially with Endgame, right? There's the silence to Endgame is deafening.
Yeah, it's kind of like they're complicit. It didn't Meghan say that you're complicit. So I think it's a huge mistake. And I do believe that Harry does have a lot of regret, but they backed themselves into a corner. Now, if you remember on the Tom Bradby interview for ITV, he kind of backtracked and said it was unconscious bias. I'm like, that's not Oprah. You literally use the R word 3 times. And when Oprah clarified with Meghan, she's like, if that's your assumption that Archie didn't get a title based on his skin color, basically calling the queen the R word, which actually was not true. And she's like, well, that's your assumption, then you are correct. Or that we didn't give an infant security, then you are correct. It's like, why would you give a baby his own security detail when his parents have security and he's living in a secure home? Why did Archie?
It was, the narrative was so twisted, and Oprah didn't. I mean, Oprah always does that. To be fair, I've exposed that for a while. Oprah doesn't care about the facts. She wants the victim narrative that she can create the memes to, and then moves on to the next thing and doesn't ever really realize what she's done. But yeah, it's wild. But do you sense that the tide has turned though from Team Sussex? It does seem like while so many people have supported them early on, and now it seems more and more people seem to be turning. Do you sense that too?
I do. Well, I think you probably noticed too. like I said, when I started back in 2021, there wasn't a lot of people speaking out about them, but now everyone has jumped on the bandwagon because they know, oh, I'm going to get views. If I talk about Harry and Meghan, I'm going to get clicks now. Celebrities are coming out more and more speaking negatively about them. So I definitely feel like the tide has turned because Harry and Meghan are their own worst enemies and they only have themselves to thank. It's like the more they talk, the more they kind of dig themselves in a negative hole. And that's one thing about royals is that we didn't know about the queen. We didn't know what her favorite color was. We didn't know what her favorite movie was. We didn't know about her and her private life because she had a certain level of mystique, certain level of mystery. Even Kate and William, we get to see more of their personality, but we don't really know them. Then you hear Harry and Meghan who don't stop talking and you're like, stop talking.
Yeah, they sound like this a lot. I usually play this drop.
Yeah.
It's a lot of that. It's like, enough, shut up, you're not a victim. My God, you got how many people in the world have it worse off than these two, but they seem to be perpetual victims, whining and crying. I know you don't like to be a salacious, but it must grate you too, no?
Well, yeah, I mean, they're literally the Duke and Duchess of TMI. I mean, Andy, did you need to know about Harry's frozen Todger? And
no, definitely didn't.
Know about that, Andy? Do you do you feel better knowing about that about Harry? Did that help?
And his brother was uncircumcised, like he was doing it to his brother. It was all TMI. Like, dude, what? Yeah. No, weird. Yeah. Like, yeah.
We don't need to see it. So the TMI hasn't helped them at all, and all it's proved is that Harry is spoiled. He's the spoiled spare who lives a very privileged life, and it's a wasted life. So when I look at Harry and Meghan, I kind of see the Duke and Duchess of Windsor all over again as kind of history repeating itself, where when the Duke and Duchess of Windsor, when he abdicated and went off to go live a very frivolous life, you can tell he had a lot of regret. When they had an interview with them when he was much older, he was a very sad man because he didn't have a life of purpose. And you look at Harry, it's like you start to see in his personality how he's changed. And in my opinion, he is not a man with a purpose. Yeah, you have money and you have your wife and your kids in Hollywood, but is that really fulfilling compared to the life they could have had? The opportunity they walked away from, the platform that Meghan Markle could have used as a woman of color for the Commonwealth. What she could have done compared to now she's starring in little commercials for what is it, a coffee brand? It's like
that she invests in. I love how everyone's like it's like she's trying to make money with organically self-sustained women and Trump. No. It's a business that you want to make money on, right? Let's keep it honest.
But compared to Catherine, you looked at Catherine at the coronation, people were like, Waity, Katie, sitting around. I'm like, honey, she ain't waiting for nobody but that throne. Honey, I think
it's true.
Good. But here is Meghan waiting for the paparazzo in the parking lot. And then you got Katie over here waiting for the throne. So, I think I'll take Katie's cards any day of the week, right? But with Harry and Meghan, it really is a missed opportunity. And you can kind of see it in his face. He regrets. Yeah. I think he regrets what he's done, what they have now, because how can they go back, Andy? How can you go back?
I don't think you can go back. But you can go to Royal Daily Tea as we deal with how it's going to happen. Go hit that subscribe button. Go follow Michelle over there as she brings it to you. And she reviews The Crown quickly. Should I watch The Crown? Yes or no? I know that some people really mad. Diana's ghosts and stuff in it. But overall, would you advise I watch or others watch The Crown? Do you think it's worthy?
Well, on my other channel, Royal Daily Tea History and Fashion, I also talk about other royals in Europe and other royal gossip. I just did a review on The Crown. And if you go under videos, you'll see it.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and if you're a royal fan, I think you will enjoy it. You have to go into it knowing it's historical fiction. We don't know private conversations unless you're Harry and Meghan and you're recording them of the royal family. But I do feel that The Crown was very respectful. And I cried, Andy. I bawled my eyes out on the last episode of The Crown. They paid a tribute to the Queen. They do a lot of what you call foreshadowing, because they did stop The Crown at the relationship of William and Catherine. They didn't go to the wedding, but you did see kind of the foreshadowing of the Queen's death. And I bawled my eyes out.
So you don't feel like even the Ghost of Diana scenes, that to me it was like more of like a way to help homage and let go as the characters might. I know a lot of people who see their relatives as still talk to them, etc. It wasn't like it was a force ghost there, as everyone's sort of joking.
And one thing I did like, Andy, is they did not paint anybody in the royal family as good or bad. The thing about the crown is they humanize the royals because, like I said, royal family, they're kind of mystique. They're behind the plexiglass. But what the crown does is it shows them as people, and it also highlights their relationships, not only with the crown, but within each other, their family dynamics, the relationship between the Queen and Princess Margaret, and then the relationship between Charles, Diana, as well as Charles and his sons. So
it's a good review. You're selling me. It's humanizing the people. That's what you wanted. Yeah, you don't want just perfect, easy. Everyone's got a little bit of both in them. We're all human beings, right? Nobody's perfect. We've all made mistakes, so I liked it that. So that's a good, there you go. So I might give it a shot. I've been debating. I'm going to check out your review as well. Guys, make sure you go over there to Royal Daily Tea and follow Michelle. Lovely conversation. Please come back any other time. Let's help each other out. Love this. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. Any final thoughts?
Thank you for having me here, Andy, and I hope everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and continue to go over to the Royal Daily Tea and check out your new tea on Harry, Meghan, as well as some other royal news.
Yes, do it. Hit the subscribe. Make sure you hit the bell for the all alerts so you get notified. Otherwise, this YouTube doesn't. And then the engaging of the thumb and the comment helps us all out to support your favorite creators. We appreciate you. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you all. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday season. Stay tuned for more royal guests of Christmas.